ever really stop to think about, like, I don't know, those massive shop windows you see, or even run your hand over a new car? We're surrounded by glass,
Yeah.
but, like, rarely think about the work that goes into making it perfect.
Yeah, it's wild.
So today we're doing a deep dive on the people who make that happen. Glass polishers. We're going deep, really getting into what this whole career is about.
Right, going beyond the surface.
And we're looking at this through the lens of RoleCatcher.com, specifically their career guides, because
Yeah.
they have this whole section on glass polishing that we thought would be interesting to break down.
Pretty in-depth.
So yeah, get ready to, I guess, see things from a new perspective as we polish up some knowledge about this craft.
And it's more intricate than people might realize.
Mm.
Like, the guide mentions using grinding wheels and polishing wheels, and I know that might sound kind of basic, but picture this. Using a spinning wheel with, get this, diamonds on it to smooth out a huge pane of glass. It's got to be perfect.
Wow, that's pretty high tech.
Totally. And there's this thing called vacuum coating. It's how they get that crazy reflective, almost like a mirror finish.
Oh, right.
It's kind of like being a sculptor, but you're shaping light and reflections instead of clay.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is how many industries need this. It's everywhere. Skyscrapers, phones, everything. It's not just polishing. It's like you're a part of so much.
That's true. I never thought about it like that.
And the places they work are pretty varied, too. RoleCatcher talks about factories and workshops and sometimes even outdoors. You got to be flexible in this field, it seems.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is probably why they talk about how tech is changing things. They use CAD software to design stuff now, and all this advanced machinery.
No more like dusty old workshops, huh?
It's not your grandpa's glass shop anymore. It's like a mix of, old school skills and high tech.
Right. Okay, so let's get into what it's actually like to have this job day in and day out. RoleCatcher's got a section on the pros and cons, always important to consider.
For sure. For sure.
Let's start positive, all right. They highlight attention to detail as a big plus. Makes sense. You're working on imperfections most people wouldn't even see.
True. Gotta have a good eye.
And they mention the feeling of, like, visually improving something.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Taking something rough and making it gleam. There's got to be a sense of satisfaction in that, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Transforming something like that.
And of course, the fact that you can work in so many different industries is a huge plus.
That's a good point.
It's not just like one type of glass or one sector. It could be buildings, it could be cars, it could even be those super delicate scientific instruments. It's pretty diverse.
Yeah, way more than people think, probably.
Okay, but like any job, there are downsides. RoleCatcher's upfront about those too. They
Right.
mention the repetition of some tasks.
Right.
So if you need constant change, might not be the best fit.
Gotcha.
They also mention chemicals, which, can sound kind of scary.
Yeah.
But there are safety rules, obviously, and the guide really emphasizes knowing and following those. It's about working smart, not avoiding it altogether.
Right, safety first.
And then there's the physical part of the job. You're on your feet a lot, using tools and all that. It can be tough on your body. Something to think about, especially if you've got any, existing issues or whatever.
So you gotta be realistic.
It's about knowing your own limits, basically.
For sure.
But I think the big thing here is that RoleCatcher lays it all out, good and bad. They're giving you both sides so you can make a real decision.
Exactly. No sugarcoating.
Okay, so let's say you're into this whole glass polishing thing. What's the career path even look like? And that's where the glass polisher career stages section comes in. RoleCatcher breaks it all down, like starting as an apprentice, then moving up to senior glass polisher.
Yeah, they lay out the whole progression.
And it's not just titles. They get into what you actually do at each level, the skills and all that.
It's cool how they show you, like, the growth you can have. It's not one of those jobs where you just stuck doing the same thing forever, There's a path forward if you want it.
Right. Gotta love that.
Totally.
So starting out, like that apprentice role, that's all about hands-on learning. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're helping out the more experienced polishers, figuring out the tools, getting down the basics.
Yeah, it's all about building those fundamental skills for sure. And RoleCatcher talks about how important a strong work ethic is in that stage, which I thought was interesting. Like showing up on time, being ready to learn, paying attention. Those things really matter early on, it seems.
Oh, absolutely. It's like any apprenticeship, you got to prove yourself,
Yeah, show you're serious.
Soak up all that knowledge, earn their respect. It's a process. But then when you move up to like senior glass polisher, it's a whole different ball game.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just about doing the thing anymore. You're kind of leading the thing now.
Makes sense.
Overseeing projects, managing people, even maybe training those new apprentices coming up. It becomes as much about leadership and mentoring as it is about, how well you can polish glass.
Which has got to be rewarding in its own way, right? Going from student to teacher, like passing on the torch,
Oh,
leaving
totally.
your mark,
For sure. For sure. And it shows how you got to keep learning in this field, even when you're at the top of your game. RoleCatcher talks about staying up to date, like on new techniques and technologies.
Mhm.
What's changing in the industry? You can't just rest on what you already know.
Well, yeah. Things are changing so fast, especially with glass tech. Think about it. Smart windows, bendable glass, all that stuff. Who knows what's next?
It's crazy.
Maybe in 10 years, they'll be polishing glass that's also like a solar panel or something. Changes color on command. Wild.
Right. It's like, what even IS glass anymore? So cool.
Totally. But okay, let's be real. Even if this all sounds awesome to you, how do you actually get a job in this field? It's tough out
Oh,
there.
for sure. The job market's a beast.
Thankfully, RoleCatcher doesn't just drop you in the deep end. They've got like a whole bunch of tools on their site, stuff for interview prep, tips for getting noticed by employers.
Which is so important these days, right? It's not enough to just be good. You got to make sure people see that you're good,
It's true. It's true.
especially with all those like computer programs that companies use now to sort through applications. You got to make sure you stand out to a human being at some point or it's all over.
Oh, yeah, those things are scary. But that's actually what I like about RoleCatcher's approach. It makes the whole thing feel less impossible, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Like they have a section literally called Beat the Automated Recruiter, which is just brilliant.
It is. Because it's true. It's a whole strategy now. Applying for jobs. You got to understand how those systems work, the keywords,
All right.
tailoring your resume to each specific job.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a whole game.
It is. But RoleCatcher gives you the playbook, so to speak.
Exactly. And the interview prep is where they really shine, I think. They've got a ton of practice questions, like over 120,000 or something ridiculous.
It's amazing, right? And they're all organized so well.
Oh, yeah, super user-friendly.
You find stuff by industry, specific job titles, even the skills they're testing for. It's amazing.
It's like having a roadmap to interview success. Seriously.
Totally. And they don't just give you the questions, they give you advice on how to answer them, like what points to hit, what to avoid.
It's true. It's super helpful.
It's like having a little career coach right there in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then there's that AI thing they've got, the RoleCatcher Copilot.
Oh, yeah, that's wild.
You can actually record yourself answering questions,
Yeah.
and it gives you feedback like on how you sound, what you're saying, everything.
Next level. Talk about prepping for the future. Speaking of, we've been talking a lot about the here and now of glass polishing, but with all the crazy cool stuff happening in glass tech, smart windows, bendable glass, self-healing coatings, like what does the future hold for this whole profession?
Oh man, that's the million-dollar question, right?
Right.
And it kind of goes back to what we were saying before about always learning and adapting. As the tech changes, so do the skills you need to work with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's not about being scared of like robots taking over whatever. It's about being ready to level up right along with it.
Love that. So maybe the glass polishers of like tomorrow, they're not just masters of detail and all that, but they're also kind of tech wizards, comfortable with all the latest gadgets and software.
Totally. And hey, maybe they're the ones inventing that stuff, pushing the boundaries of what glass even is.
That's wild.
It's like we've been saying glass polishing is about shaping light, shaping reflection, but maybe in the future it's about shaping the actual like material itself. Who knows?
Whoa, that's kind of deep.
Right.
Pretty mind-blowing.
It is. It really makes you think that even with all this talk about like AI and automation taking over everything, there's always going to be a need for that human touch, that creativity, that hands-on skill.
100%. We're not obsolete just yet. Not even close. And hey, maybe one of our listeners out there is going to be the one to like totally revolutionize the whole glass polishing world, invent some crazy new tool, a new technique, even a whole NUW kind of glass.
Right. The possibilities are endless. As clear as, well, you get it.
I do. And on that note, I think we've polished off all the info we can for today.
We really dug deep, huh?
We have. But whether you're thinking about a career in glass polishing or you just like to geek out about the hidden world of how things are made, hopefully this got you thinking.
That's what we're here for, to spark a little curiosity.
Exactly. So until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.